The Hoosiers now go to Iowa. The Hawkeyes have to be feeling better, at least offensively, after a nice performance at Rutgers. But now they get an Indiana team that just looked like a machine against the Illini. What's the matchup you're watching most closely here?
Well, the matchup I'm waiting to watch, probably only 4 or 5 other people in the country are really anxious to see it. I mean, this is a line of scrimmage game, right? These two lines of scrimmages, you take Bob Bostad, one of the best offensive linemen in the country, offensive line coaches, he has got that Indiana offensive line really playing well. Calvin Bell and Jay Neiman, 2 defensive line coaches at Iowa, have their defensive line playing as well as any defensive line in the country. So, Reverend, it's going to be a fight for leverage. And if you're interested in line play, put your DVR on and watch it after the game's over, because there's going to be some crazy play at the line of scrimmage. But big picture, of course, Mark Gronowski, the Iowa offense, I think this against Rutgers, this is what they wanted it to look like. This is not a drastic change from what they were doing in the spring, what they were doing in camp. It just seemed like all the pieces came together. So for the Iowa fans, if they want to know really what Iowa wants to look like offensively every week, I think we watched it last week. On defense, Phil Parker against an Indiana offense that challenges every part of the field. The one great thing about Indiana's offense is you have to defend the whole field and the entire depth of the field. The scheme really does that. Phil Parker, defensive coordinator, is one of those coaches. It's not complex, but what he does such a great job at is he teaches his team on the right hash, on the minus 21-yard line, on 1st and 10. There's only 3 plays that they run. And he calls the defense to defend those 3 plays, and the players anticipate one of those 3 plays. Hard to do against Indiana because they have so many ways to attack a defense. Their scheme on the Mike Shanahan offensive coordinator and Coach Cignetti is really, really versatile and really can attack a defense any way they want. And so that's going to be the challenge for the Iowa defense.
I want to ask you a little bit more about that Iowa defense, because I did think, look, they played much better in the second half against Rutgers than they did in the first half. But in the first half, it kind of looked like Rutgers didn't have a whole lot of respect for their defensive backs. I mean, I think Rutgers wide receivers are very good, and so I do think that's part of it. But they threw for 330 yards. They got a lot of these one-on-one battles and just kind of threw it up. Iowa had some penalties as well in the backfield. How big a concern is that? I mean, I think we go into every year just assuming Iowa will be great on defense, and the bar is really high, and the run D has been outstanding. But I think the pass defense showed some cracks there. Like, are you concerned about that side of the ball, or that part of that side of the ball at all for Phil Parker's unit?
Yeah, it's probably one part of football that's really, really difficult to improve largely during game week. It's usually something that takes more than a game week. You know, Phil may cut down the coverages they had, especially against, like I say, a diverse Indiana attack. So my guess is they'll probably simplify things on the back end at Iowa. But is it a concern? Absolutely, it's a concern. But, you know, again, you're not all of a sudden going to take different players and play them in the back end when these guys won the jobs and you've seen them reps through spring practice and through camp, and now all of a sudden you don't say this guy's not any good. So it's more about we're going to have to coach him either better or coach him even different, because this is the best we have in the back end. So there's not much they can do other than to evaluate what they're doing, make sure they're in the right scheme, and then go.
The challenge, obviously, is Indiana can run the ball so well, too. Over 300 rushing yards in all 4 of their games so far. So you've got to your point, Jerry, you've got to defend the whole field against this Indiana offense. It was a machine, no doubt, against the Illini.